crafty friends, this is the Papered Chef here. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to cut out patterned paper using your Brother ScanNCut. The pattern paper we're using is called Broadway Bound by Stampin Up. And it's one of those last chance items because it's only available until June 3rd. Because once our new catalog is launched, not only is this paper going away, but this color, which I love so much, let me point at it, Lemon Lime Twist, is also going away because it was one of the in colors that's been around for 2 years now. Anyway, this paper was very challenging, and that's why I decided to do a tutorial on it. I'm not only going to show you how to cut out these balloons and do some troubleshooting techniques with these, but I'm going to give you some tips on how to cut out some of these other papers too that I had some challenges with. And just some tips and tricks overall. Let's get started right away. I'm going to show you the rest of this paper in just a little bit, but because we're going to be using what's called color recognition mode, I need to get started because that takes actually a pretty long time on the machine. So I'm just adhering the paper is all I'm doing, okay? And my mat's kind of sticky, not too sticky, but I'm just using my hands to rub now. If you don't have a very sticky mat, you might want to use a brayer or something to get that to stay on. Okay, now I'm going to open up my ScanNCut. It doesn't matter which way you put the mat in. I mean, this purple side, this is a standard mat, or the other side. Okay, I'm going to just now turn my camera so you can see the controls, and I'm going to bring it a little closer, and you can see, oops, it's a little bit crooked, isn't it? A little bit closer, and then you can see me load the mat and all the controls and things like that. In case you're new to the Brother ScanNCut, this is going to be like something that's eye-opening because you'll be like, wow, I can cut out pattern paper. But this is not a good pattern paper to start with because it is a little tricky compared to most pattern paper. And I'll explain why. All right, so you're going to put your one hand on the mat. You're going to load the other, you're going to hit the load button, this button, with your other hand. And now we're going to select, when you turn on the ScanNCut, you see pattern and scan. Pattern is using built-in patterns, and scan is using the pattern that, whatever's on your mat. Okay, we're going to select scan. Now we're going to directly cut out these balloons in bunches. So we're going to use direct cut. Okay, we're going to just save the data to the machine. This is just where is the data temporarily stored. Now the difference between this and most of my tutorials is this time we must use color recognition mode. I'm going to just show you how to change it. Usually it's on, when you turn on your machine, and the default setting is this. It's going to be black and white recognition mode. Okay, I need to explain what happened to me earlier today when I tried to use black and white recognition mode like I always do, and I was just going through the motions using my Brother ScanNCut like I always do, and I thought my balloons were cutting out just fine. And then I was like, oh, what's up with that? Oops, I forgot to use my video light, didn't I? Okay, sorry guys, but I'm going to keep on going because I'm a crafter. So I need to get this crafting done to decorate my envelopes with. All right, so I cut out the balloons, and my point is, I thought they were cutting out just fine. When I looked at the preview, it looked like it had everything. And then when I started cutting them, I noticed that the ones that are in gray granite, that's the balloons that were back here. There's supposed to be a gray balloon back there. It just completely got cut off. I was like, what the heck? And I didn't notice until I started cutting out my papers. And I was like, wait a minute. It didn't even recognize one whole color of balloon. And then so I changed it from black and white recognition mode like I'm doing now to color, and it worked just fine. So let's say start. The only disadvantage of using this mode is it takes a lot longer to scan and recognize. Okay, because it's looking for the contrast between the foreground and the background. And when there's not a lot of contrast, like on this paper here, then, in fact, here I've already cut out this whole sheet. I can show you what I mean on this one. When there's not a lot of contrast, it doesn't catch. It doesn't catch like the gray granite balloon. It thinks it's just the same as the lemon lime twist next to it. All right, so it's asking to frame the image. I don't want to cut out this entire page of balloons because we'll be here all day. So let's just cut out so you can learn what's going on. Go cut out this little top left section. Here, I want to make sure I get a few bushels of balloons. But also the other side of this paper is so beautiful as well. So I definitely don't want to use up my only other sheet of this because I've already cut out balloons from the one whole sheet. As you can see here, I cut out loads and loads of of balloon bushels, and they worked out great using this mode here, which is what I'm showing you. And it's now, okay, so we have, what this means is color, this color threshold. So the higher the number, the more colors it's going to recognize around itself. So let's just leave it at 5, which is the default. And you can get more detailed scanning when you raise the color threshold, but let's not mess with that. We can go in and ignore object size in case we want to get rid of any little stray bits if we want. Not too much, maybe 1/4 inch. I don't really see too many small bits. We say okay, and we say okay. And now we want to put an outline distance around our balloons of 0.04. That's the outline distance I usually use. Okay, we're going to say okay. Now this bushel here of balloons, let me see if I find my stylus here in my craft table. Okay, I'm going to get my stylus so my finger's not in the way. This bushel is not a complete bushel, so I'm not going to cut out that one. Let me just say okay. And when I get into this editing mode here, this is the editing mode with the little shapes, I can get rid of like the partial bushels of balloons, because I mean, if I hadn't selected that part of the area, they would still be there. See, that's part of a bigger group. So I'm just going into the editing mode, and I like this because it lets me see the background a little bit, and I'm getting rid of any stray bits, partial balloons, because why waste time cutting them? This bushel I didn't select an entire, when I selected this area, not every bushel is complete. And just in the interest of saving time, you get the idea that when there's not a lot of contrast between the foreground and the background, you must use color recognition mode, which is really the point of this exercise. Also, the point is, when you have specialty designer series paper, which I have, you need a blade depth of 5. Normally I use a blade depth of just 3 when I'm, okay, let me just give you a little bit more light there, in my standard blade when I'm cutting designer series paper. But because I'm using specialty paper, which I'll show you why this is cutting, I need a blade depth of 5. Okay. It's very thick paper. It has foil on one side. I'm going to hit cut. I'm going to go ahead and say start. Just because this machine's so noisy, I'm going to move it way over there. And here's the paper that is in this Broadway Bound pack. One side is plain, meaning a matte finish, and the other side is foiled. Okay. I'll give you a tip for cutting out these numbers in just a little bit. I will give you a tip for cutting out these pieces of cake as well, and cupcakes. I cut out those successfully. Here's the foiled other side. I created a Mother's Day bag out of this lemon lime twist paper. I like this gold foil on this side. And I'll give you a tip for cutting out these party hats as well. After the machine is not so noisy, I can give you some more tips. There's the foiled side. Here's another piece of this designer series paper. I'll show you some projects I created using this paper in just a minute. And I'll show you the other side of the balloon paper as soon as it's finished cutting. I'll get the machine closer so we are ready. All I need to do when it's finished cutting is unload my mat. I can't wait to get the DX. Those of you that have it, let me know if you really think it is whisper quiet technology like Brother claims it to be. I'll be getting that this summer for sure. Okay, so let's say okay, and let's unload the mat. And now I'm going to show you what the other side of the paper looks like, and I'm going to show you what the balloons all cut out. Okay, great job. Now here's the other side of that piece of paper. And I'm glad I didn't cut out all the balloons because I'm going to save this for some more envelopes which I'm making. Okay, so let's peel these. To peel them off the mat, well, my mat's not very sticky. It's not very hard to peel off the mat. Sort of like you could bend the mat, or in my case, these just fall right off. And let me just get them. Most of them did a good job. Sometimes you get what's called a little artifact or something where you have to, fix it with a pair of scissors. Okay. In fact, let me tilt my camera down so I can show you my projects, and let's see how we did. All right, so here are some balloons. Not bad. And this is what I mean by a little artifact. Okay, let me get my little scissors. So if you have a little piece, sometimes it just this little nub, I just call it a nib. I don't even know what the right name for that is. But I sometimes just have to cut off little pieces to make them perfect. I just love to embellish my projects, and I love that the Designer Series paper lets me do that because it coordinates with whatever I'm already doing. Okay, so here are the results. And then earlier I cut out a lot. These are the ones I tried to cut out. See, this is what happened. I didn't even know I wasn't cutting it out because I was looking at the machine and it looked like it selected the balloons just fine in black and white mode. And I'm like, oh, it sure didn't. It cut out the whole gray granite balloon because the gray did not contrast enough with the background. But you know what? I'm still going to use that one because all I need to do for that one, I'm not going to waste it, is I need to take one of my single balloons, which I had no trouble at all with my single balloons, crafty friends. Look at this. Loads and loads of single balloons. They all cut out really well. Okay, now for some other tips. See, these little, okay. So I had no trouble, and for this one, to fix it, where did it go? I can just take one of these single gray balloons, pop it up, or just put it right on there, okay? So now I even have a more 3D look, and I actually like that better. Just pop it up with a dimensional, and that looks pretty good. So it's kind of like one of those happy mistakes where you're like, oh, that's not bad at all. All right, let's on to some tips and tricks. For this one, this piece of paper, if you would like the inside of the circles, and like for the inside of the O and the inside of the 9 and the 8 to cut out, okay, and you get a bunch of numbers, it will take you about 17 minutes to cut out this sheet of numbers, and then you can cut out the inside and outside. The problem with using ScanNCut data, which is what you're going to need to use, is ScanNCut data, is ScanNCut data, while it cuts out the inside and outside of your image, it doesn't allow you to use the outline distance. Okay, so I choose to go into my Brother Canvas Workspace software to when I want to get some outline distance, and that's a little bit more of an advanced technique. But if you just want the numbers as they are, exactly on the border, you're going to use ScanNCut data for the sheet here. Okay, now for the cakes, okay, your tip for the cakes is these are pretty tricky, but it's a tip I've taught before on YouTube, and if you're really uncomfortable with this, I can show you on another video. But this one was cutting out balloons. Okay, so for the hats and the cakes, find the cakes, you just need to take, okay, there's not a lot of contrast, so that you can still use black and white recognition mode, but you need to take a pencil and connect these lines and this line right here. So it even recognizes the white against the gray, but these little pieces here, it cut out 3 pieces of cake. 1, 2, 3. I was like, or 3 layers. I'm like, no, I want them all to be 1 layer. And then I had a little trouble because I didn't have a ruler. So I recommend just take a little card or something, take a little straight edge or a ruler, and just line it up on, just draw a line on your cake, and it'll cut out just fine. Okay, so maybe you didn't see that, so I'll get a little closer. I'm connecting these lines, and then the cake connects fine. Cuts fine. And then I did use an outline distance, and I really like how my cakes turned out and my cupcakes and things, because look at that little cake. It has a nice little outline distance in the gray, and I use those as embellishments. And if you really want to use the color recognition mode, you'll get a little bit better results with your cake, I think, because you'll have, like for example, this cake here, while it did a good job for me, the tops of my little strawberries were cut off because I used black and white recognition mode. So it didn't really know the tops. See, it couldn't recognize the tops of those strawberries. So I should have just, all I need to do, it's a very easy fix. Crafty friends, you just go like this, and you draw around the strawberries. But I've already cut out a sheet of these, or like half a sheet, so I don't really need to cut out anymore. But I'm just showing you the pencil marks. And then, of course, good to connect the sides as well. So whenever you have white against the gray like that, connect the sides with the pencil, and then you'll get a solid image. Okay. The other thing that's very important in this piece of paper like this is to connect the candles, the candle wick. Otherwise, it's going to cut out as a separate image. So this cake right here will cut out as one single image. It pretty much worked on this cake. It ignored that little gap there. If the gap's really small, it can ignore it. But just for good measure, fill in the gap with the pencil, and this cake will cut out beautifully. Then you can use your embellishments on cards. Okay, so that's how you do that. You're just making each one into a solid image by filling in any gaps. And if that still doesn't work for you, try color recognition mode. Just keep aware that it's going to take a lot longer. Okay, for the party hats, you just want to take your party hats. Well, actually, most of these are okay. That one's okay. That one, just this one here with the white, you needed to draw a line. Okay, and one little tip is once you get some shapes of party hats, you can use those shapes again you could actually use those shapes again and cut some other party hats out. All right, so, if you save it and replace the paper, you can get some other party hats. Now it's time for my projects I created using the embellishments from this designer series paper, Broadway Bound. So I used what's called the envelope punch board. I did a course recently, it's not even published yet, on Skillshare, one of the platforms I teach on. And the course was about how to use the envelope punch board. Okay, and so these are the things I made in the course, and now I'm going to use them as actually birthday envelopes. So this is Stampin' Up's envelope punch board, and this is a A2 card, A2 envelope. Using that paper and a belly band. But then I just wanted to embellish it some more, using some things from the Brother ScanNCut. So that's how I put the balloons on the envelopes. Okay, and I popped those up with dimensionals, and the stamp is from the lemon. Hold on, find it. The stamp is from Lemon Zest. This is another last chance item. It retires June 3rd. Okay, so if you're interested in any retiring items, please check out my link to my store. Okay, here's some more envelopes. This is one I'm going to embellish with some balloons. I just needed to cut out some more balloons. Okay, I'm going to put some balloons on this one. Actually, I like if they go at the same angle as the little candles, kind of at an angle like that. And here's a little cupcake I put on this one. This envelope, this is some little tooly, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I think it's tulle ribbon. And there's a little cupcake that I cut out with that other paper. Happy birthday, envelope, liner, and another little one. Okay, so that's what you can do with your embellishments. Once you have these are, by the way, these are gift card holder envelopes that I'm actually going to use or share. Okay, so when you have all these embellishments, you have many more options for your projects. So I hope you enjoyed that challenging yet fun way to cut out the pattern paper using color recognition in the Brother ScanNCut. This is the Paper Chef. Bye for now.